In 1928, a man published a book that would quietly become the operating manual for the modern world. His name was Edward Bernays, and his book was called Propaganda. Not a warning, not a critique, a manual. In it, Bernays wrote something that almost no one in power has contradicted since. He wrote that the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. He wasn't a villain, he was a nephew of Sigmund Freud. He had a PhD, he worked for American presidents, and what he was describing, openly, in a published book, was the systematic use of psychology to move masses of people in directions they wouldn't choose if they understood what was happening. That book was required reading in the offices of every major advertising agency in the world within a decade of publication. It still is. Parts 1 and 2 of this series showed you what these mechanisms look like at the individual level. Today, we're going to show you what they look like when they're running on 200 million people simultaneously, and we're going to be specific, because vague warnings about manipulation don't protect anyone. Specific ones do. Let's start with the foundation. Every mass manipulation system, everyone, without exception, is built on one core insight. People do not make decisions based on facts. They make decisions based on how facts make them feel, and feelings can be engineered. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a documented industry worth over $800 billion a year. It has a name. It has trade journals. It has annual conferences. It is called behavioral marketing, and it has been refining its techniques for almost 100 years. Here is the core playbook. Technique 1. Identity replacement. The most primitive form of advertising sold you a product. The modern form sells you an identity. There is a difference between buy this car and people like you drive this car. The first is a transaction. The second is a mirror. And once you see yourself in that mirror, once the product becomes part of how you define who you are, choosing a different product stops feeling like a preference. It starts feeling like a betrayal of yourself. Bernays proved this in 1929 when he was hired by the American tobacco industry to get women to start smoking. At the time, it was socially unacceptable for women to smoke in public. Bernays didn't advertise cigarettes. He hired women to march in the New York Easter Parade, smoking, and calling their cigarettes torches of freedom. He reframed a product as a symbol of liberation. Cigarette sales to women tripled within a year. He hadn't changed the product. He hadn't changed the facts. He had changed the identity the product was attached to. That technique, 97 years old, is still the foundation of every major consumer campaign running today. Technique 2. Manufactured social proof. Human beings are social animals. The most powerful signal your brain uses to decide what is safe, true, or worth doing is what the people around you believe. This was a survival mechanism for most of human history. If everyone in the tribe runs, you run. You ask questions later. But in a world where social proof can be manufactured at industrial scale, that same mechanism becomes a weapon. Consider what happens when you see that a product has 40,000 five-star reviews, or that a political candidate is described as surging in the polls, or that an idea is trending on every platform you use simultaneously. Your brain interprets all of these as genuine social consensus, even when the reviews are fabricated, even when the polls are selectively published, even when the trending algorithm is being gamed. The feeling of consensus is indistinguishable from actual consensus inside your nervous system, and that feeling, that sense of going against the current if you disagree, is one of the most reliable suppressors of independent thought that has ever been identified. Technique 3. Emotional priming. Here is something that has been documented extensively in academic research and largely ignored in public discourse. The emotional state you are in when you receive information determines what you do with that information, far more than the content of the information itself. Frightened people share more. Angry people engage more. Anxious people buy more. These are not assumptions. They are documented, repeatable, measured findings available in any behavioral economics textbook. They are also the foundational design principles of every major social media platform currently operating. In 2021, a leaked internal presentation from one of the world's largest social media companies showed researchers had discovered their platform was causing mental health deterioration in teenage users, particularly around anxiety and body image, and that the platform had decided not to change its algorithm. because anxious users spent more time on the platform. The emotional deterioration wasn't a side effect, it was a feature. Technique 4. Micro-targeting. Everything we've covered so far has existed in some form for a century. What changed in the last 15 years, what made all of it exponentially more powerful, was data. Specifically, your data. In 2018, the world learned about a company called Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica had harvested the psychological profiles of over 87 million Facebook users without their knowledge, and used those profiles to build individual-level manipulation campaigns for political clients. Not demographic targeting, not age group targeting, individual targeting, meaning a specific message crafted for your specific psychological profile, your specific fears, your specific values, your specific insecurities, delivered at the exact moment you were most emotionally receptive to it, all based on data you had given away freely, in exchange for the ability to share photos and play games. Cambridge Analytica's chief executive stated in a recorded conversation that they ran over 50,000 different versions of the same political advertisement, each one customized for a different psychological profile. 50,000 versions of the same message, each one designed to find the exact crack in your specific psychological armor. Now, here's the part that makes this different from NXIVM. NXIVM needed you to walk through a door. This doesn't. NXIVM needed months to build its influence over you. The average social media user receives algorithmically optimized content for 6 to 8 hours every day. NXIVM needed you to pay to enter. These platforms pay you in dopamine, in social validation, in entertainment to stay. The architecture is different, the mechanism is identical. So what do you actually do with this information? 'Cause I want to be precise here too. The goal is not to terrify you into disconnection. The goal is to give you the same thing a lockpicker gives you when they show you how locks work, not to stop you using doors, to make sure you're the one deciding which ones to open. Here are 4 things you can do, starting today, that are backed by research to meaningfully reduce your susceptibility to mass manipulation. First, identify the emotional state you are in before you engage with any content. Specifically, ask yourself, am I frightened, angry, or anxious right now? Because if you are in the exact state that makes you most susceptible to manipulation and least capable of critical evaluation. You don't have to feel calm to resist manipulation. You just have to know when you're not. Second, track whose identity you are performing when you share, buy, or vote. Before you share that article, before you post that opinion, ask one question. Am I sharing this because I have evaluated it, or because sharing it signals something about who I want people to think I am? There is no shame in either answer, but knowing which one it is puts you back in the driver's seat. Third, deliberately seek friction in your information diet. Algorithms are designed to remove friction, to show you what you already agree with, what already feels good, because agreement and comfort keep you on the platform longer. Friction means reading the best version of the argument you most disagree with, once a week, consistently, not to change your mind, just to make sure it's actually yours. Fourth, change what you use the internet to do. The most manipulation-resistant internet users are not the most skeptical ones. They are the ones who use the internet to create and search, rather than to scroll and receive. A person who goes online knowing what they are looking for is extraordinarily hard to manipulate. A person who opens an app with no specific intention has handed the steering wheel to whoever designed that app's recommendation algorithm. Let me tell you what ties all 3 parts of this series together. In part 1, we looked at why individual intelligence creates specific vulnerabilities. In part 2, we watched a real organization exploit those vulnerabilities methodically over 2 decades. And today, we've seen those same methods scaled to a size that makes NXIVM look like a rehearsal. And the thread running through all 3, the single thing that connects Milgram's laboratory to NXIVM's SASH system to Cambridge Analytica's data operation, is this. None of it works on a person who knows it's happening. That's it. That is the entire defense. Not intelligence, not education, not skepticism, not willpower. Just the specific knowledge of what is being done, how it is being done, and who is doing it. That knowledge is what this series has been built to give you. Edward Bernays died in 1995 at the age of 103. He lived long enough to see his techniques go from newspaper campaigns and public parades to targeted political advertising delivered to the specific psychological profiles of 300 million voters. He never expressed regret. But near the end of his life, he did say one thing worth remembering. He said, "The three most important words in the English language are awareness, awareness, awareness." A man who spent his career engineering mass manipulation ended it with a warning about exactly that. The question is whether you were paying attention. You were. This has been the Manipulation Blueprint. If these 3 videos changed how you see things, share one of them with someone you think should see it, not to convince them of anything, just to make sure they have the same information you now do, because awareness only travels if someone passes it on.